here a couple weeks ago, one of my athletes, Julian Bird, who I've worked with for a couple of years, was vacationing here in Colorado, a couple hours south of where I'm at. He was nice enough to drive up, and I took the opportunity to also invite our friend Cassim Hansen down at N1. Cass had offered to bring his Beyond Power VOLTRA. So I kind of wanted to make this video just highlighting some of the features of this. This is by no means a comprehensive review of the VOLTRA, but more to just kind of bring some awareness that this thing exists. The VOLTRA, it's an electronic training device, so it's very versatile. It can be adapted to other equipment, or it can be treated like as its own cable stack. What it uses is a direct drive motor. So the device itself, how it's like a piece of medical equipment, but I think it's 13 pounds or so, but it can generate 200 pounds of resistance in a very small footprint, which, you know, for a lot of what you would be using it for would be more than enough. This direct drive motor, is you pull, it generates torque to counter the force that you're pulling with, essentially. But in doing that, you can adjust how that load interacts across the range of motion. So you can overload the eccentric, which we do here, but also you can have it mimic chains or accommodating resistance like bands, where it gets heavier as you go. There's other movements where, let's say on a pulling movement, which is normally harder as you go, you can adjust to on the inverse chain setting, where it basically creates a descending profile where it gets heavier as you approach that more lengthened position. And we did some rows that was using this setting. It was a unique feel. It felt smooth, but it's unique in the sense that most pulling movements don't feel like that, because they're usually a little bit easier in that more stretched position. So I had some nice DOMs that I hadn't experienced in a while in my lats following this. But this device, I think it's the future of resistance, you know, training resistance at home and even in gyms. I think a lot of machines will start to be equipped with something like this. Obviously, you know, there are some drawbacks in terms of, you know, there's a motor that needs, you know, battery that needs charged. The versatility of this is incredible. And just as an aside, I've always thought it would be amazing to be able to adjust the resistance profile on a cable machine. For a given amount of cable pull, it manipulates the load either through a cam for a given degree of cable pull. So it would need to essentially be like a mini continuously variable transmission of sorts that you could adjust on the fly. But yeah, probably take up some space. Not sure exactly how that can be accomplished yet. If somebody out there wants to invent it, that would be awesome. But the VOLTRA is quote unquote easy workaround to that problem. The limitation there is it is a little bit spendy. It's relatively new technology. There's some devices out there like it. This one, as far as I know, offers the greatest degree of resistance with 200 pounds, as well as just a very high degree of customization in terms of how you can manipulate that resistance. So right now, like resistance profiles and trading in lengthened positions, like it's very popular. This allows you to do all of that and do it heavy. And so I think there's a ton of application for this. I know Kaz uses it. It's on, like, I think on his pendulum squat to kind of supplement, kind of adjust the resistance profile a little bit further, you know, even load the eccentric a little bit more. So the other thing that I think there's probably a lot of utility here, and this was Julian, he's a PT, is its utility like in the rehab process, whether you're adjusting where peak loading occurs, you know, working around the range that might be uncomfortable, for example, or testing isometric strength in different positions and seeing how interventions are impacting strength one side to the other, for example. So what's also cool about it is it's, you know, software that's controlling a motor, which is generating the resistance. There's ongoing updates to the software. So I think they recently, I believe this summer, rolled out the ability to actually create your own resistance profile within the app.
When you're in here, if this is faded, it's off, right? So it's just the dead motor, basically, is what you feel. When it's green, you're actually getting the resistance, right? You can either tab up and down, or you can scroll here, okay? Right now, this is set up on kind of like what I think is slightly a sweet spot. So it tells you how much is being applied to the eccentric and how much is being added to the lengthened. So right now, it's adding an extra 10 on the lengthened and 20 here. So if I click on this, see how it's inverse chains, right? So that chains is ascending, yeah. Inverse change is going to be descending, okay? This is the eccentric, so that's how much it's adding. So
this is the concentric force right here.
So this will be the starting concentric. Okay. Now, in the mode that it is in now, it's going to assess your range of motion. So if I just, whatever, I do a tricep extension here, that first rep, it stays the same. And now my second rep, it's going to start applying the variables. So what it does is it takes that first rep to figure out what window to apply the resistance profile to and when to switch over.
It would be a way to take some at-home machines that are, like a leg extension, for example, the common plate-loaded ones that, get heavier only at the top. There's not a lot at the bottom. You could use something like this to significantly improve that profile. Now also, training lats in more lengthened positions like we did is another good example. If you get 2 of them, you can, do some of the stuff that we're shown doing here. Some cable pressing, cable flies, tricep extensions as well. So this could be kind of the wave of at-home equipment in the next 5-10 years. Hopefully, as the costs kind of come down a little bit, it can replace a lot of machines, frankly. I'm considering sort of making a series of videos on YouTube, just kind of walking through some of the biomechanical basics when it comes to torque and ultimately sort of building up to discussing resistance profiles. I know like things like lengthen bias, shorten bias, like most people have probably heard those within the evidence-based side of this industry, but I think there's still some people that don't really understand exactly what that means. Whether it's like, okay, the muscle stretched, is that lengthen biased, or where the peak resistance occurs, and both of them can impact things. But also, I think ultimately I kind of want to build the case for it's not going to make or break results. It's definitely nice to have, and nice to have the knowledge to be able to make those calls and know sort of what each movement is in terms of, where its peak forces are occurring and, where we might want to use an ascending profile, for example, where it's getting a little bit heavier as you go. So more like quote unquote shortened biased. I think a lot of people they assume like lengthened everything. And I think there's a lot of utility for some of that other stuff where it's a little lighter in the lengthened position. And so let me know in the comments if that'd be something you'd be interested in. I think it'd probably be like a 3 or 4 part series. Yeah, appreciate it, the views, and talk to you soon. Thanks.